video demonstration, I'm going to show you how to use the beautiful new Holly and Ivy mini plate to make a beautiful wreath card. As you can see here, I've used the Baroque snowflake, which I'm going to show you in the demonstration, to give me the circle to build the wreath on. And I've used 2 colours of card and some of the mini poinsettias on here as well. And the actual foliage has been designed so it's slightly, each piece is slightly on a curve, so it will fit round a wreath absolutely perfectly. So I'm going to start by cutting, and what I've done is I've chosen 2 colours of Crafts 2 linen card. I've chosen olive and pine here, and I've cut these down to approximately 5 3/4 by 4 1/8 of an inch. But if you watch the mini poinsettia video, I show you in there how to cut a piece of A4 card into 4 perfectly to fit the plates. So we'll cut one just to show you how they cut and how the pieces come out. Now there is quite a lot of detail and intricacy in this die, so I'm going to cut this through my Kaleido, but I'm actually going to use the metal shim as well, just to make sure that I get a lovely clean cut on all of that fine detail, because it's very fine. So I'm just going to bring in my Kaleido. So these dies will fit in any of your A5 die cutting machines. So I'm going to go through forward and I'm going to come back reverse, just so that I get a nice clean cut on every place. So I'll move that out of the way and we'll have a look. So it's always worth turning your die over. Just check to make sure it's cut everywhere, that you're happy with it before you remove the die. We'll pop those to one side, and here we go. We'll take this out. So I'll take out the little bits of foliage, and as you see, they fall out beautifully. So the way this has been designed is that we get 8 pieces, and these are in a repeat. So you get a large holly to go left and right. You get a small holly that again, just put that one down flat so you can actually see. So goes left and right, so it faces in both directions. You get a right and a left of the larger ivy, and you get a right and a left of the smaller ivy. So in one pass with a piece of A6 card, you will get 8 pieces of foliage, and you'll find the holly comes out completely clean. You've just got a little couple of pieces that you need to pick out from the ivy where the leaves are connected, just to make sure that when you pull it out of the die, there's a couple of little connections in there like that where they join on, just to make sure that it doesn't just all fall apart when it pulls out of the die. So it's worth just spending a couple of seconds to get those little pieces out. Now I've already cut these in quite a few different colours, so let's lay these to the side. So I've cut these in the pine and I've cut these in the olive. I'll move the die out of the way. And what I've done next is I've actually cut into a piece of craft card the Baroque snowflake die, which is another of the John Next Door 2021 Christmas collection, and I've just foam mounted it over a piece of the Christmas red just to give me a little bit of definition. But what this does is gives me the perfect circle to actually put the wreath on, and by using the craft card I get that little bit of sort of almost like twigginess showing through. So you can do this with spray glue, you can do by gluing each piece, or you can just use your fine applicator bottle. So I'm going to start with the fine applicator bottle on the green, and effectively I'm going to build this up. So I'm going to take, starting with the holly, and I'm going to put the left and the right, and I've cut each of these twice, so I have 2 of each piece. So a little bit through the middle on each little section. We go. So this is again a right fitting. So I'm just going to echo that at the top. And again, you can already see it looks quite nice, just sort of left like that. I'm going to take the next one, which is sort of the opposite facing one, and we'll put that in at the bottom. There we go. And I'll take the opposite facing for the top one and do exactly the same. So I start by building up with the larger pieces. You can see there, easily follows round that circular look. Okay, now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take some of the larger ivy, and again add a little bit of ink to that, and I'm almost filling in the gap. So you can see here, there we go, let's put that in the right place and just give it a little press down. You will find it speedier with spray glue, but using a wet glue really does fill it up a little bit better. And again, the opposite of the large. Oh, I think that's the same size, so we'll move that one to one side. This is what I want. So it's easier sometimes if you lay them out in different pieces, if you actually lay them out in order. But that would be far too organised for me. I'm just going to tuck that one under there. So I've started by building the beginning of my wreath. Okay. And then I'm going to take the smaller pieces, and you're just building it round. So I'm kind of echoing almost in four corners what I'm doing by adding this on. So there you can see I've started to get my wreath. I can move it around so that I've got little bits that sort of spring out as well. So I've got little bits that are springing out. I'm then going to move in, and I'm going to bring in now some of the smaller pieces of the lighter colour. So this is using the olive as opposed to the pine. And again, I'm going to add those in and almost try to oppose them. So you'll see that there's a direction they want to curl in. So that wants to curl that way. So I'm just building it up by adding some little pieces now. So I've got 4 of these. And you see there, I've just tucked it underneath that little leaf. Again, you can cover with flowers, but it just gives that little extra interest. So let's add a few little pieces of the ivy, and you will continue to build this up, tucking them in until you're happy that you've filled it up. So, and I'm constantly trying to sort of opposite them. So I'm trying to build them round. So then I will switch back in to a little bit of the darker green and go perhaps where I need to put a little bit more in. And then I'll say, right, well, I need a little bit of the lighter green. So you continue building these until you've got a build up. So you can see there, that corner's starting to build nicely. This corner looks a little bit light. So let's add a little bit more in. So keep adding until you're happy. Just think you can always add, but you can't take away. So stop at the point where you think, yeah, that's looking about right. So now I'm going in completely randomly, adding pieces in where I think they're appropriate. But I started with a build that was very much even. You can see now already that's starting to, let's need a little bit of glue there, I think. I'm starting to get a fuller, more circular wreath. So once you're happy that you've got it in the right direction, you can add any final pieces. So I'm just going to secure that in there with a little bit. And again, I can see a little gap there. So if I find one of these darker ones just to go over, and by finishing off with a little bit of dark, it just carries it together. And it takes the time just to cut them, each one twice in the different colours. So there I've built up a really nice wreath look. And I've got quite a lot of pieces left, ready to do another project. So you can see there I've got quite a lot of pieces left to do another one. Leave that upside down because I put glue on it but didn't use it. So now I've made myself a little card blank, just using more of the craft card, and then I've matted and layered it with some more of the pine green and some more of the Christmas red, just to balance it out. And we'll just add that on. You see now why I went for the depth. So we've got our wreath built, and all we need to do is add our flowers. So to make up the flowers, if you watch the video for the mini poinsettias, it will show you how to make up those. And these I've done this time, I've done with a grey pollen. So here's the grey pollen by Craft Artist. Just works absolutely beautifully with the poinsettias. I don't know what it is about the grey. It's almost like a silvery grey, but it works really nicely. And I'm just going to dot these through, and I'm actually going to put them in little groups around probably two sides. So here we go. So I'm putting a larger group in this bottom left hand corner and tuck them in. Get some of the foliage to come forward and tuck them in. Give those a good press down. There we go. So I've got 4 there. So to my personal rules, I need 5. I like to keep things nice and odd when putting flowers on. So we've got 5 there. And then I'm going to balance that at this side with just 3. Just keeping it nice and simple. There we go. And I'm pushing them and tucking them together so it works with the foliage. At this point you could say, okay, I'm not sure that that's right, or I can see there where I've actually got a little bit that's not been pricked out. So let's just take that out and put that flower in there. So now I've got a beautiful wreath with the flowers on there. Save the pieces that I've got left for another project. I can do this again, or this would be the start of my next card. And all I've done to finish this off is I've actually cut using the Baroque Sentiments Joy, and this time I've used the outside with them so that they're separate letters. And all I want to do when placing these is to start with whatever is the center letter. It's why I went for a 3-letter word on this, because it's a lot easier to have one in the center. So I put the O in the middle, I put Y at one side and the J at the other, so I get a nice even spacing. And there we go, a very simple looking wreath card built around the Baroque snowflake. You could use a circle if you want, but the actual Baroque snowflake is nice because it leaves little bits of brown popping through. And we've got a wreath card made using the Holly and Ivy mini sort of die plate. For more hints and tips and inspiration, please visit the John Next Door on Crafts2 Facebook page, where you'll see galleries full of cards using the foliage and using the poinsettias. Enjoy.